Hey guys, it's Acacia and it is about 11 o'clock at night and I just had this on my heart to record this video and I don't even know if I'll share it, but here we go. So several people have come and messaged me or asked me about fostering and why I decided to foster and what my journey's been like and 1,001 questions. And that's how I felt when I started this whole process. And so I thought, well, why don't I make a video and share, because I think that this is something that's on a lot of people's hearts and a lot of us are fearful. And so I just wanted to tell my story. So my husband and I got married in 2010. We never ever had talked about adopting or fostering or anything like that. That wasn't something that I just grew up thinking I was called for. I'd never really given it a whole lot of thought. I just thought I'd have my kids and have a family, and that's really just all I ever thought about. But we started at a church called Hope Fellowship, and we lived in McKinney. We went to Frisco, and we had been going there. We got married in June. We started going to that church in October, and I don't know, we've been there about half a year or so. Timeline's a little fuzzy, but we saw this little clip about being missionaries where you live and making a difference in the world around you. And it was like literally maybe a 5-minute little blurb. It wasn't even what the message was about. And they just highlighted a family in our church that was a foster family, and who had adopted. And anyway, so went on with the service, and I came home and I looked at Braxton and I said, I think we're supposed to foster. And he looked at me and he said, yeah, I felt that too. And I was like, oh crap. I'm like, you're supposed to talk me out of this. That's not something we're supposed to do. I thought that was just me. Like, no. But he said, yeah, he felt that too. So I was like, okay, well, that's kind of scary. And are we sure this is something that we really want to get ourselves into? But it was one of those like God things where we knew, like I felt it, he felt it. We both knew, and it would be disobedient not to go with this feeling. Now, not all feelings, you can't just always follow your heart, but with this, we felt the calling. So we started looking into it. So how did we get started? We got online, like anybody else, Google, and we found like a foster convention in our area. That's not the exact word. I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, it's like a place that a church was nearby, and it had all the different agencies that serviced our area. And so you go and you listen, and then there was like little booths, and we went to all the different booths and learned a little bit more about each agency. And then we contacted a few, and we just kind of figured out which one would fit us best based on our faith and, just our qualifications of what we wanted in an agency. So we found our agency, and we started going through training. Our training, we had 35 hours and a home study, which I was really nervous about, but it wasn't near as bad as what I thought it was going to be. And then, you have to get your house checked. So you do training, you do like a massive, humongous application, you do references. It takes a while to get it all done. But for us, it was worth it. And we understand why it was so in depth, because they want to make sure that, you are who you say you are, and you're going to be a good home for kids. And I think that's important. So I'm glad that they, it was in depth and it wasn't, just super simple. But anyway, so we went through training and we got licensed, and we were licensed in August of 2011, I believe. And we waited. And we were told, okay, you're going to get a kid anytime. Our house was open to any race, any gender, ages 4 to 11 at the time, 4 to 10, because we wanted them to be able to go to school with me. And we waited, and we waited, and we waited, and no phone calls, nothing. And we're like, okay, are we supposed to be doing this? We got a call, and by the time, we talked about it and got back to we got like 2 calls in several months, and our agency was like, this is just not normal. We don't know why, we just haven't had a lot of kids. And we're like, okay, you know, weird. So we got licensed in August. We got our first placement March 22nd. Yeah, long time. Not normal. But we got this little boy, and he was amazing. And we had him for 16 months. And he didn't stay with us. He went on to live with his forever family, an adoptive home. And one of the biggest questions I get when I'm asked about, or comments that I'm asked about, and this is going to get like kind of serious and actually a little harsh, but I don't mean that way, but is, well, doesn't it break your heart when they leave? A serious moment is, yeah, it breaks your heart. Of course. I mean, it's hard. You prepare yourself to know that they're going to leave or that they might leave. But when it really comes down to it, it's not about you. It's not about me. That's not why I'm here. If I was here about me, then I wouldn't be doing it, because it's easier to go on and live my life with my, just my bio kids and just my husband and have this neat little package with a pretty little bow. Yeah, it's a lot easier. If I was in it for me and worried about myself, then I wouldn't be here. But I'm not. And the calling is, you're a servant. And so, yeah, it breaks your heart. But you know what? You suck it up. You pray, you take a break, and you go on and you do what you're called to do. And so if you have that calling and you know this is something you're supposed to be doing and you're worried about getting your heart broken, get over you. It's not about you. Okay, that's my kick in the pants. That's my serious moment. But yeah, it does. It hurts. It hurts when they leave. Your house feels vacant. But then, that they left because that was God's plan. And you trust in him, and you trust in that his plan is greater than yours, and that you might not understand all the things that, the workings of his plan, but just trusting in his plan and trusting in him and knowing that he will send you his comforter, the Holy Spirit, to, comfort you while your heart is healing. So that little boy, he stayed with us 16 months, and then we took a little break. And when I got pregnant with my daughter, and we were waiting some more for another one. Our house was open. We moved in the transition, so we had to do paperwork and re-update and everything, so we could have, our house could be active. And I was 8 months pregnant, 8 weeks away from my due date, and just shy of going off the inactive list. And I was at church one night, and I did youth at the time, and I was told, God was just telling me, like, okay, if you get a kid, you're going to say yes. And I said, no, I'm not going to say yes. I'm having a baby in 8 weeks. We're going to say no. Like, that's crazy. And God was like, no, you're going to say yes. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not going to say yes. I'm going to say no. That's really is crazy. I'm not getting a new foster son at 8 weeks before I'm supposed to have my baby, and I don't even have my stuff taken care of. Like, I hadn't finished my nursery, and I was just nuts. Anyway, so we battled and finally got one, and I was like, fine, I'll say yes. But I was like, when you're at that point where you're like, okay, I'll do it, but you really don't want to, and you're trying to think of ways to talk yourself out of it. So I was there. So the very next day we got a phone call for this 8-year-old little boy. And I was like, oh, crud. So Bryson calls me, and he's like, well, what do you think? And and gives the description. I was like, well, I'm saying yes because God told me last night that I'm supposed to say yes. So here I am saying yes. And Braxton called him back, and I think he kind of said, and he'd have to tell you his side of the story, but I think he was going to say no because I was so far along, but then something just told him that he was supposed to say yes, so we said yes. Anyway, this little boy came, and he was only with us for about, I think, 12 days, and he went to live with kinship care. But I honestly feel like this was like a changing point almost in my faith and just in my life, to where it was, I know it's scary. I know that you don't have all the answers. This is what God was saying to me. But will you trust me? Will you do what I'm telling you to do? And so when I said yes, I felt like that was a step in my trusting. Did I know this little kiddo was going to be there 12 days? No. He could have been there 16 months. He could still be with us, because with emergency placements, you don't know how long they're going to stay. You just say yes or no. And so we said yes, not knowing. And I just felt like, yes, things worked out perfectly. We were just a short temporary stepping stone for this little kiddo. And it worked out great for him, and it worked out great for us. And, but I wouldn't have had that experience if I would have said no. If I would have been too scared, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So we said yes, and he was there 12 days, and he moved on, and he was living with his little brother, and things were great for him, and things were great for us. And so fast forward to almost 42 weeks pregnant, and I have my daughter, and we went on inactive status. So we waited. We wanted to enjoy her and not have too much craziness going on, and you have to wait 6 months anyway. So we waited our 6 months, and then I was like, I think I just started dragging my heels, because there's just a lot when you have kiddos in your home. There's just a lot that you have to do, and so I was dragging my heels. And my husband's like, okay, Keisha, let's start getting our paperwork and getting active again. I was like, okay. And I didn't do anything. And he's like, okay, and he kind of starts without me. He's like, okay, I need you to sign this. I signed it. I need you to schedule this. And I'd forget, and I'd drag my heels, because I'm soaking in all of this precious time with my daughter, and I had started the business, and I was working full time, and I wasn't sleeping at night, and Braxton was so ready, and we knew we wanted to do teens, and I was just like, oh my gosh, how am I going to handle all of this? There's no way. I can't juggle all these things. There's just too much. And then I had another one of those moments and God said, what are you waiting on? What are you doing? Why are you dragging your heels? Why have you not gotten started on what I'm calling you to do? Stop waiting and start doing. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm listening. And so we sped up, and I got a kick in the rear and got my stuff together. And so we accepted another kid, our first teen boy, and he's been awesome. He's still here, and that was in May. And then we accepted our next teen boy, and he's been here only a couple of weeks, and it's going great. And I'm just so thankful that we said yes to this whole experience. I'm so thankful that we didn't run, or we weren't afraid, or we didn't let what other people thought dictate what we were doing. Because yes, some people thought we were crazy. A lot of people say, I'm so proud, I could never do that. You guys are awesome. They give you compliments and things like that. I want to say that you can do it. God is big enough. You don't have to be big enough, because He is. And if you feel that calling, then you need to look into it more. And I'd be happy to talk to you. But some people told us, they didn't say it to our faces, but you got the vibe that they thought you were a little crazy. And that's okay. Not everybody understands what you're doing. Not everybody understands what you're being called for. But as long as you know. Anyway, that's my story. And I just want to encourage you to get started. If this is something that you've been wanting to do, or something that you've been longing to do, or it's been placed in your heart, I urge you to pray about it, but I urge you to stop just praying. I urge you to start doing, because there are kids, and I really encourage you to do teens, because our teen placements have seriously been the best, the easiest. They're awesome, and there are so many. It is breaking my heart for how many teens don't have places to go. We seriously had, when we opened, sorry, I'm going to get a little emotional. When we opened our home for the first one, we got 10 calls, 10 to 15 boys, teen boys, we were asked about, and we only took one. We're not superheroes. We can't take them all, nor do we have space to take them all. But we had 10 to 15 calls within like 2 days for as soon as we opened our home. And then we waited until he got settled, and we asked him, because we had space, how would you feel if we did another teen boy? Because we have space, and somebody needs a home, and somebody needs love, and he said, yeah, that sounds like a good thing. And so we got another call. We went back on the list. We filled out the paperwork. Paperwork, but it's okay. We filled out the paperwork, and within like 48 hours, we had like 6 or 7 more calls for 6 or 7 different teams. So don't be scared. One of the biggest questions is, do you get to pick what you do, what you'll accept? And the answer is yes. You get to be very, very picky about, what age, what gender, what race you're okay with, what types of behaviors you're okay with, what types of behaviors you're not okay with, what you feel comfortable letting in your home. We are pretty picky. I'm home alone 1 every 3 nights because of Braxton's firefighter schedule, and then I have my daughter. So we are really picky about who we let into our home for safety reasons and just security and things like that. But in the end, they're just kids. They're just kids. And kids want to be loved. They want to have a secure environment. And I don't think kids in general are malicious or want ill will against your family. Can they be emotional? Yeah, sometimes. But weren't you too? I know I was when I was their age. So anyway, okay, that's it. I'm done rambling, but I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gives you a little bit more insight into why we decided to foster and kind of what our experience has been. If you have any questions, I would be happy to chat with you. Just send me a message on Facebook or email me. All right, bye guys.